what to do if you feel like you're doing all the things to get pregnant and it's not working. Maybe you've already changed your diet. You've taken out the toxins and the plastics. You've worked on your mindset. We are digging into 3 things that we see that people miss when they're on the fertility journey and talking about how you can dig deeper and not follow those generalized recommendations. Excited for you to listen to today's episode. Let's go. Hey there, I'm Sarah Clark, founder of Fab Fertile and your host. I believe the functional approach is the first step for anyone on the fertility journey, and my aim is to help you get pregnant naturally. This episode is for you if you've already changed your diet, made lifestyle changes, but you don't know what to do next. You want to fast track your chances of pregnancy success so you don't waste time on strategies that don't work. You want to work on your health and get pregnant naturally or improve pregnancy success with your own eggs. Thanks so much for listening. I'm so thankful that you're here. Please make sure you hit subscribe or follow. And if you know someone else who is on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. Most people that we work with have already tried a lot of things. They may have selected IVF and it hasn't worked. They may have tried naturally for at least 2 years. They have done the diet changes. They've potentially tried gluten-free. Maybe they're more gluten light. They might have taken dairy out. They've ditched the plastics, the toxins. They've already done a lot. They worked on their mindset. But the thing is, it's pulling all of this together because a lot of times we're trying this, but we don't go deep enough. Or we're trying this over here, we don't go deep enough. And it's like, oh, we tried it and it didn't work. But, did you really go, like I said, deep enough? So today I'm going to be talking about if you're trying all the things, you're frustrated and you're like, are you kidding me? I've already made all these changes. The person down the street doesn't need to, they get pregnant so easily. They don't need to throw out the toxins and, make all these dietary changes, take out alcohol. Why do you? So if that's you, you're feeling frustrated, this episode is for you. So today we're going to be talking about 3 steps, 3 things that I see that people are missing and not going deep enough on, especially when you feel like you've already tried everything. So the first thing we see is around diet. So following these fertility diet trends. So there's a lot of, on the internet, obviously, of, we can eat pineapples to improve our pregnancy success. We can consume fries before our transfer. We can eat yams for twins. We can have pomegranates for sperm health and stimulating the uterus. We can, eat fertility superfoods all day long, like blueberries and salmon. And while some of those things may be okay, with the exception of the fries, I don't know how the heck that got out there, but literally eating fries that potentially can have trans fat in it, which is definitely not good for your body and can cause inflammation, more of a sort of a myth as far as I'm concerned. You don't want to be doing that. That stuff is not good for your fertility. The rest of it may be okay. But is that if that's your only strategy of eating pineapples? We've had people that are intolerant to bromelain in the pineapple. So maybe the pineapple is good for me, but for you, you may have an intolerance, or maybe you have a blood sugar issue and eating tropical fruit has, spiked up your blood sugar and then impacting your sex hormones and more. So we see a lot of people with low AMH and high FSH having blood sugar issues. And that was certainly the case for me. And as I say, many of our clients were, you're hangry all day long, you have mood swings and sugar cravings, but really it's your blood sugar that's totally out of balance. And when you start to eat a diet that is personalized for you, lo and behold, that hangry where you want to take your partner and say, I remember with my husband, we would drive along in the car. I'd be like, stop the car right now. I need to eat. And then he'd just keep driving merrily along. And I'm like, I need to eat now, or I'm about to rip your freaking head off. So then he would stop. But I'm like, and even when I had a whole Starbucks thing going on for years where I'd go in there and get the latte with the extra pumps of vanilla sugar, whatever that stuff is, that syrup. And then an hour later, damn, I could just feel myself so cranky. Now, was it the caffeine? Was it the pounds of sugar that I put in there? And it was dairy free. I was doing a coconut milk one, but it was just not right for my body. Now I can have a little bit of caffeine now. It does make me super planny. I get very excited and want to, move around the world and do all these things. So it can be helpful, but for you, if it's causing, typically for IVF, they want, there's recommendations of no more than 1 cup of coffee a day. But we look to see, is there's also SNPs actually in your genetic code that for coffee that maybe you don't process it properly, and maybe it makes you irritable. Maybe you maybe just think it's other things, but if you really take some of these foods out and reintroduce them, and you're like, wait a minute, that's causing problems. Typically for coffee, we recommend doing more of a moving down to a green tea and eventually herbal tea. So the fertility diet trends, if you're following that fertility diet that's laid out on in many websites on the internet, is that the right diet for you? Maybe we've had people intolerant to lettuce. So like if you've got a leaky gut and you've been taking, most people we work with, like myself, we're on long-term hormonal birth control. So that can then predispose you to gut infections and food sensitivities and nutrient imbalances. And you can eat that healthy diet, but you're not absorbing the nutrients. And that can be a sign of a leaky gut. So, and just because, so you could be intolerant to lettuce now, but as you start to heal your body, potentially you can bring many of these foods back. We see this all the time with our clients where they'll come in and intolerant to a lot of favorite foods. As we do the gut repair work, address infections, heal the gut with targeted nutritional therapies, then many of the foods can come back in. So if you're intolerant to lettuce, or maybe you're just eating tons of avocados because avocados are great, but maybe you've developed a sensitivity to it, like I did for myself, where I had so many avocados and developed a sensitivity. Now I can have them. I just make sure I just don't have them every day. So digging those fertility diet trends, are they right for you? Digging a little bit deeper and figuring out that personalized approach, especially if you've been on long-term hormonal birth control, which then can predispose you to these food sensitivities and gut infections. Also, if you've had a lot of antibiotics, many people that we come to have had a lot of antibiotics, and that come to us have had a lot of antibiotics in childhood. That can then predispose you to leaky gut and then food sensitivities and gut infections. So your body mounts an immune response to your favorite foods. So that's the fertility diet trends. Now the superfoods, like we talked about, so you could be, so a lot of this comes actually from the Harvard nurses study, studied over 8 years, over 18,000 nurses, and found these are some, for the fertility diet and some of these superfoods. And so talking about consuming full fat dairy, nuts, seeds, fish, seafood, whole grains, healthy fats, fruits, veggies. Now, all of those can be really good. But again, like we said, if you're consuming all this full fat dairy, but maybe you have a dairy intolerance, and we see this all the time, especially, so dairy is a cross reactor with gluten. Many people go gluten-free, but they're still actually intolerant to the cross reactors of dairy, which is cross reactors of gluten can be dairy, corn, oats, chocolate, and way more. So eating, before you say, I'm going to, all this whole fat yogurt and eating lots of full fat dairy, I would first take it out to see if you actually have a food sensitivity to it. So you can download our, if you go to Fertility Diet Freebie, fertilitydietfreebie.com, there's all the summer fertility recipes in there. It's really dipping your toe into the elimination diet, taking out the top inflammatory foods. It's not about you starving and drinking green juice and not eating any foods all day long. It's eating like awesome foods that can then help you identify kind of taking out those top allergens. So definitely go to that Fertility Diet Freebie and you can download the recipes. There's a meal plan and a grocery shopping list. So check that out. But is dairy right for you? Nuts. Many people, this happened to me and it's not fun. It literally, I'm like, oh, wow, look at all these, when I decided to go dairy free, I started to eat lots of almonds. I had almond milk. I was making almond cookies and everything. I was baking with almond flour, which is super expensive. And but anyways, for years I was doing that. The smoothie, everything had almonds. And lo and behold, I developed an almond sensitivity because the body is not meant to digest huge quantities of nuts like that. And now when I have almonds, and I haven't had them in years, they make me throw up. And I am not a person that necessarily has a weak stomach and throws up a lot. But yeah, those literally within an hour when I had those almonds, my body was just like, no, I don't think so. And I haven't had them in years to try it out again because I just don't really want to go through that. But we see that a lot where people all of a sudden develop that sensitivity to nuts. And because when you go over, if you go more of a plant-based diet or you take out some of these foods, it's like, let's pound down cashews, almonds, pistachios. Typically it's cashews and almonds are the main ones. Obviously coconut can seem to nut, but people seem to tolerate that one a little bit better. And then, so those fertility superfoods, we've done food sensitivity tests and people are come back intolerant to fish they don't even consume, which is interesting. It's like they're like, I've never even eaten that, and your body just has it mounts an immune response to it. So just because those fertility superfoods may be right for someone, are they right for your body? So to go back on that and dig deeper, and the best thing to do is that elimination diet. I have a whole podcast episode, how and why to do the elimination diet. I take you through the exact steps. Start with the fertility diet freebie and download the grocery shopping list and the meal plan there. And then you can listen to that episode, how and why to do an elimination diet. Then you can really figure out how these foods are impacting your body. We see this all the time with low AMH and high FSH, that literally there's food sensitivities. And I know it can suck. Like, I know it personally. I've been eating this way for the last 12 years and I don't do dairy, gluten, or corn. And I've taken out some nuts. But I'm still having grass-fed meat, wild-caught salmon, like wild-caught fish, lean protein, lots of veggies, still have fruit. So it's not like this super restrictive diet. I don't do a lot of like breads and things like that, but you can still do sweet potatoes. I do potatoes, squash, and all kinds of great food that, like, it's not about deprivation here. And in those recipes I was talking about, it can mix things up a little bit too, because sometimes you get stuck in a bit of a rut. So with the fertility superfoods, make sure that, these foods are right for your body. Consider the elimination diet. Do this with your partner. Another theme we see with low AMH and high FSH is non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So if we see people actually where the partner is still consuming gluten in the house, maybe they're using the same toaster, the same cutting board, and crumbs from bread or whatever other gluten products, that can still cause an immune response in someone that's super sensitive. And we're seeing people with gluten off the chart, like extremely sensitive. The body is mounting a huge immune response to that. So dig deeper and consider, are those fertility superfoods, are they actually good for your body? And I just talked about this a little bit, but dig in a little bit deeper is the top allergens. Many times we're like, oh, I even heard the other day where someone's like, oh, my RE said for me to go dairy and gluten-free. And I was like, wow, okay, this is making it into some conventional medicine. To me, before you go to IVF, if someone has said to you, you've got to rush the IVF, you're too old, your eggs are too old, you're running out of time, your AMH is too low, your FSH is too high, or it might be just on the typically for IVF, they won't take you any higher, an FSH higher than 11 or so, or I think it's 12. And if an AMH is too low, they're going to say donor egg. So they want to get you in a certain window to increase their stats as well. So it's important to really optimize your body. To me, there's no negative side effects for you taking time out now to work on your health. You'll either get pregnant naturally, or when you do go into IVF and invest all that money in the procedure, it'll actually work, because it takes an average of 3 cycles at a cost of $60,000 for a successful IVF. And we haven't addressed the underlying healing issues, which then could impact your postpartum period and the health of your children. So I know it can feel like a panic right now where you just want to figure it out. And most people we work with, it doesn't matter how old you are, the moment you decide you want to have your baby is when you want to have your baby. And the fertility industry, IVF, really perpetuates that panic, that impatience, that we've got to rush. And we work with type A's, so that just like even makes it worse. We're like, okay, panic time, let's go, which is the absolute opposite of what it is to bring in your baby in that the receiving, patient, peaceful, calm state to welcome new life. And it's not like this forcing and pumping full of drugs and having side effects from the drugs and more. So, and the emotional turmoil of going through that is, like failed cycles. And, I know it firsthand. So, it's devastating. So let's look at some dietary changes, simple but not easy changes you can make right now to either get pregnant naturally, or if you do go to IVF, it actually works. So the top allergens, and many people have gone, ooh, I've taken out gluten for a little bit, or maybe I've taken out dairy for a little bit. We call it dairy light, gluten light. But if you're intolerant to a food, if it's still coming in, you can take it out 80%, but the other 20% is still causing an immune response in your body, and the body doesn't want to procreate, it wants to survive. So you've got to really pick a time that you can be 100% to take out those top allergens. And the top allergens are dairy, gluten, soy, corn, peanuts, and eggs, processed sugar, yes, and alcohol. Take them out for 10 days, systematically reintroduce over 30, you and your partner. Follow on the podcast episode how and why to do the elimination diet. It tells you the exact steps. Tweak it with those recipes in the fertility, in the summer fertility recipe guide. So go to fertilitydietfreebie.com. We'll have the link in the show notes. So because even if you're super sensitive, even a little crumb can cause an immune reaction in your body. Many people come to us. It's like, it's not a sick population. It's a population that wants to have their children. And sometimes we don't know how poorly we're feeling until we feel awesome. And so people have cleared up eczema in like 6 weeks, acne. Maybe you have a postnasal drip. Your nose is always congested. You may have skin rashes. You may have the digestive issues, so gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation. All these things are common but not normal. You want to dig deeper with those. Those are clues. Those are some of I didn't have any of those digestive issues, not until years later when I didn't address it. But initially I'm like, my digestion's fine. So if yours is fine, although I did have the bloating for years, and we see this a lot, we're like, I'm just so bloated. Like you shouldn't eat. And then your belly is like popping out like you're 3 months pregnant. That's not, something's going on in there. There's something that's, your body is there's a reaction there for you to dig deeper. Is there a food sensitivity? So the digestive side of things, the skin side of things, we see people, as I say, the eczema, the dermatitis, the acne, the skin rashes, the hives, those start to clear up as we heal the gut, as we take out those top inflammatory foods. Work on mental, emotional stress too, because it's not just like the biochemical stuff. It's really important to dig into the mental, emotional stress of trying for years, of the strain this has had on your potentially on your relationship, in your social life. This, infertility will impact every aspect of your life. And so digestive issues, skin issues, joint issues. I have people like, their wrist hurt, knee pain, joint pain, back pain, all of that inflammation in the body. When you address that many times, sometimes with the help of chiro or physio or pelvic floor or more osteopath, it can go away. Again, if your body's under attack and it's got something out of alignment, a structural issue, it's putting the resources there and not in the reproductive side of things. Also, we have autoimmune things, autoimmune issues where people will say to me, oh, by the way, I have Hashimoto's or celiac, and I've been told IVF is my next best step. Well, no one's dug deeper. We've got, multiple people that are pregnant with Hashimoto's when they've had, multiple failed IVF. Same with celiac disease. It's not enough sometimes to go gluten-free. We've got to then address the gut infections. Why has the autoimmune disease come here in the first place? And you have one autoimmune disease, you can be predisposed for another one. And so autoimmune disease is definitely a clue. We see this alongside fertility issues all the time. And typically the ones we see are celiac and Hashimoto's. So if that's you, dig deeper, you can't heal. And our protocol, we want to make sure to reduce the risk of miscarriage. So you could have a successful IVF, and then we see a lot of people with miscarriage, early miscarriage around 6 to 8 weeks. And so that, a lot of trauma with that, and a lot of heartbreak, obviously, and these things can be avoided. So let's dig deeper. And it's not to blame anyone. When you figure this stuff out, if you're here listening to this, there's a reason that you're here, for you to listen to your body, take the time to allow your body to heal, so you can, prepare for pregnancy success. And it's just taking that target approach, because many times on those different websites, you can say, do this and eat that and take this supplement and eat this fertility food, start doing seed cycling, all these different recommendations. But target approach really, fast tracks your chances of success. So the last one, as far as allergens and things to look for. So we had the digestive issues. If you may be experiencing, we had the what else did we have? We had digestion, we had the skin issues, we had the joint issues, we had autoimmune issues, and also mood. So if you have, ADHD or anxiety, depression, bipolar, any of these things, that is the inflammation then impacting your neurotransmitters. Is there a nutrient imbalance? How do we then address that? Many times when we take out some of these food sensitivities, the mood will come back into balance, all along with addressing gut infections and nutrient imbalances. So, using our Fab Fertile method, you can really take a targeted approach to this. So it's if you're following those fertility diet trends, doing the fries, please don't do that. Eating the yams for twins and the pomegranates and the pineapples. Are they right for your body? The fertility superfoods, which based on that fertility diet study from Harvard, is that right for you? Pounded down full fat dairy. Maybe you have a dairy intolerance. Maybe you've got eczema. Maybe you've got postnasal drip. Maybe you have digestive issues. Maybe it's dairy. I know it can suck, but there's lots of dairy alternatives. So it's not about you and deprivation, not going out and hiding and eating garbage all day long. That's not what this is. It's really finding foods that work for your body, and then not, still eating those top allergens. Many people come to me, they've done all this work, but they're like, still kind of eating a little bit of gluten, or still having dairy, or you know what, I know when I have corn, it gives me digestive issues. Or people will say to me, oh, I'm lactose intolerant, but I take a pill. Like if you know a food is causing you a problem, stop eating it. We don't need to have a test to tell you that. Like, you already know. So just don't eat it anymore. Take it out, for 60 to 90 days, and then you can still reintroduce it once you've done all that gut repair. Those are some 3 top tips to help optimize your chances of pregnancy success. If you feel like you're doing all the things, you're considering IVF as your only option, you've been told donor eggs are your only option, but we just sort of not gone like surface level. But it may, as I say, it may feel like you're doing all the things, but we don't know. When we know better, we do better, and we can go a little bit deeper and take that target approach. So if you're ready to figure out how the Fab Fertile method can help you and your partner conceive, you can just apply and book a call with me, and we will chat to see if you are a good fit. So take care.